Diane, just a minute. You're good. Just a minute. I might go on a little longer here. But here's the deal. Sandpaper serves a purpose, right? It smooths out the rough edges. And if we're honest, we all have rough edges. Places in our own lives where at times our hearts are hardened, we're hesitant to forgive. And the mere thought of someone, the mere mention of a memory, it just creates a knot. Well, this Mother Church on this day, Easter Sunday, insists that each year we listen to this reading. There are options for the second reading and there are options for the gospel, but not this one. The context is that perhaps 3 months after the death, the resurrection, the ascension, and the outpouring of the Holy Spirit upon that early church. They started to grow, they started to materialize, they started to mobilize and spread. And yet there are some rough edges within Peter and Cornelius. Cornelius, we're told, he's not of the house of Israel. He's not a Jew. He's not a believer per se. He's a man of great reputation. He has 100 servants at his beck and call. Cornelius is also known as one who prays regularly, and he gives generously to those in need. Cornelius, one day in the afternoon, he's praying, and the angel of the Lord instructs him to send some servants to the city of Joppa, to the house of Peter. And so he does that. A couple days later, as they're nearing the house of Peter, and this is Peter who what? Jesus said, "You are Peter, and upon you are rock, and upon you I will build my church." This is Peter, the chief of the apostles. Peter who denies Jesus 3 times. Peter, who his first sermon, when he was filled with the Holy Spirit, 3,000 people were baptized and brought to the Christ. And this is Peter who, when he walks into that temple, he heals the lame man. And yet Peter has a rough edge. He's going to do something he never would have thought he would have done. He's going to go to the house of someone unclean, a foreigner. Peter he's sleeping, he has a dream, and this white sheet has all sorts of animals, clean and unclean on it. Fish and winged animals. And then he hears a voice, "Rise, slaughter, and eat." And 3 times Peter says, "Nothing unclean has ever touched these lips." He hears the knock, and he's going to do something he never would have thought he could do. He's going to go to the house of Cornelius. He's going to step into his house where Cornelius is gathered with his wife, his children, his grandchildren, his servants. And Cornelius himself has this rough edge. He has yet to receive Christ and the fullness. He's yet to be baptized. Let's be attentive to that story and be mindful of what? Sometimes God uses sandpaper, like people, events, circumstances in our own story, to smooth off our own rough edges. This teaching comes right from Pope Francis through my lens. It's only every 3 years that we get the resurrection according to the Gospel of Matthew. And again, the context, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they're coming to the tomb, and these angels come. And let's remind ourselves what the angels say. "Don't be afraid. I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He's not here. He's risen, as he said. And then, come, see the place where he lay, then go quickly and tell his disciples." So it's always about come and go. "Has been raised from the dead, just as he had said." And then this line, "He's going before you to Galilee." So then they set off to tell the brothers. And as they're on their way to tell the others, Jesus himself comes and speaks to these women. And what does Jesus say? "Don't be afraid. Go tell my brethren to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Now, a little geography. Here they are, the city of Jerusalem, Galilee is 100 miles to the north. 100 miles, that's like from here to Milwaukee, right? Like, what's the big deal? Why can't they just stay in Jerusalem? Why do they have to take that 10, 12, 14, how long, who knows how many days it takes to walk that way? And Pope Francis reminded me and reminds us, Galilee is the place where they were first called. Galilee is the place. They could remember the day, the moment. They could remember where they were standing when love changed the direction of their lives. Perhaps you have those type of Galilee moments too in your relationships and in your own story, where love changes the direction of your lives. And then he continues, to return to Galilee means to reread everything on the basis of the cross and its victory fearlessly. Do not be afraid. Okay, so while they're filled with fear and anxiety and their world's been turned upside down and they can't believe life has turned out this way, the one thing Jesus wants to remind us is to go to that place of first love. And he continues, and this is what he preached last night. He preached the same kind of theme, but he expanded upon it a little bit. Remember your own Galilee and walk towards it, for it's the place where you came to know Jesus personally, where he stopped being just another personage from the past, but a living person. Like, this isn't some sort of event that happened 2,000 years ago, but Jesus is alive. And I pray and I hope that when we find ourselves so turned upside down, we too can go deeper into that friendship and relationship with Jesus Christ, who is alive. Not some distant God, but the God who's at your side, who more than anyone else knows you and loves you. Don't forget that. Like, when you're so filled with anxiety and fear and the chaos and the circumstances of life, the direction is there. Return to Galilee. And it's the one you forgot that, and here's where it is. Here's the teaching for us, right? Because sometimes we get so preoccupied with ourselves and our own situation, our own events, and it's not turning out the way I thought. And then we get so focused on ourselves that we even forget God, that life is a gift, that my family is a gift, that creation is a gift, that Jesus the Christ is the gift, that he enters into relationship with me through the waters of baptism. And then all of a sudden, when the dust begins to settle on your heart, that's when you stay stuck in your sorrow. And like the disciples, you saw the future as empty, like a tomb with a stone sealing off all hope. Brothers and sisters, Pope Francis asks us, what's your Galilee? Where's that place in your heart, in your story, in your memory, where you were once reminded, perhaps a personal, powerful experience, perhaps a deepening sense of, Lord, I want to trust you. Lead me where you need me. Let's be attentive to that place of Galilee in our heart on this Easter morn.